Welcome to the Homeschool Show. I'm Amanda Wares, your host, and I have with me our co-host, Melanie Willis. Hey, Melanie.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. I think we've had some rain, and that has washed away some of the pollen, which was driving me crazy.
Plus, we kind of went from that, from the pre-spring into the fourth winter.
It's so true. It's cold. It's cold where I am today. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And did you hear that the pollen levels this year are the highest that they have been since they started recording pollen levels in the 90s? They are higher than they've ever been. So no wonder that we were struggling. So what do we have today?
So, we've been discussing music for the past couple of weeks, and a few weeks ago, you were able to sit down with Alexa and Aria Carter, who we have a special connection with here at NCHE. And so let's listen to the interview you had.
Okay, I am here with Alexa and Aria Carter. I am so excited to do this interview. We have been talking about and thinking about music and homeschool, and the Carters is a very musical family. So I'm really excited to get to talk to them about their experience and just what it's like for them. Also super fun is that Alexa was also homeschooled, and she also has experience as a homeschool student and now a homeschool mom and teacher. So super fun. So, hey guys.
Hello.
Why don't you just quickly, you can introduce yourself and tell our audience kind of who you are and a little bit about you.
Okay, so I'm Alexa Carter. My maiden name is Alexa Mason. My parents are Debbie and Spencer Mason, who have been involved with NCHE for a long time. And so I grew up homeschooled, as Amanda mentioned. And now I've been homeschooling my kids since I had kids. This is Aria, my oldest, who is almost 20, and my youngest is 12. So I'm primarily a homeschool mom, and I direct choirs and teach some math classes too, and am involved in music at church and lots of stuff like that.
I'm Aria Carter, and I'm her oldest, and I'm currently I was homeschooled all the way through, and now I'm a freshman at Furman University studying music, violin, and French.
All right. So I had a few questions that I thought would be interesting to talk about and for our audience. So first off, and both of you can answer this because I think it's true for both of you. How do you feel that having music as a part of your own homeschool experience growing up affected you in a positive way?
So having music part of life or homeschool experience, it's all kind of the same thing to me, is hugely significant for me. It's a big passion of mine. So it's, for me, a huge source of joy, peace, and my most significant spiritual tool. It's how I pray. It's how I remind myself of truths. It's how I worship. I mean, obviously other things do that too, but for me, music is definitely the primary one. It's also been huge in my social life. From childhood through now, most of my friendships are probably based around doing music together in some way or another, hanging out with other teenagers when I was a kid doing music, and then now with fellow church members serving the church with music. So it's a huge community builder, because we're doing something that we all feel emotional about, that is very valuable to us, that pulls us together, and we have to work well together on. So I think all of those elements make really strong community.
Aria, I know you said that you are majoring in music in college. Alexa, did you also major in music?
Yes, I majored in vocal performance and then also math, but music.
Okay, that's awesome. What can you tell us about the process, both of you? This is for both of you. The process of applying to college as like a homeschool student, applying to be a music major. What is that like? Is it different than other, just
I can
applying in
start here.
general? What can you tell us
I
about
would say so the audition process is the most impactful for me. I mean, it was an insane process, but I think it was a really good process to go through. I auditioned at I don't know how many schools, like five, six, something crazy, seven,
Seven.
and it's just a really good. Even if you don't want to major in music, sometimes there are opportunities to audition for scholarships. And I definitely would recommend doing that because it is a really great growing experience as a musician. Um, just performing
that?
in front of people. That is the most terrifying performing experience you will ever get because it's like maybe four judges. They just trying to judge you. They don't care about your music at all. And so it was just like a really good way to get over my stage fright also. And also doing a practice audition before you do any real auditions was extremely helpful. I got a bunch of people from my church to listen to me play, and that was a really good way to practice before I was doing the actual thing.
Oh, good.
So that's
Okay.
one thing you definitely have to do is you audition if you want to be a music major. And so that you kind of have to start the process a little earlier. For a homeschooler
Okay.
versus a traditional schooler, it doesn't make much difference, we think, because if you're looking to be a music major, you really should have a private teacher anyway. So things like school orchestras and stuff, that's great. And it's going to be a lot of a good experience that you should probably try to replicate as a homeschooler. You should look for community ones and stuff, but that's not the primary thing that you need. So just like anybody else, we all need to get our own private teacher who knows the area that we want to go into and can help you navigate the admission process and which colleges they recommend and what to look for in a music program and help you prepare
Yep.
for an audition. So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I would also
That's
say
really good advice.
recommendation
Yeah.
letters. My private teacher is one of my recommenders. Actually, I think I had two of them recommend because some of the music schools will have you they require music recommendations. I know ECU School of Music required two music recommendations, so it was really great that I was also part of. I had my private teacher, and then I was also getting to know the teachers at Duke University when I was doing the program there. So involving yourself in both private
Okay.
lessons and other like community orchestra or like different intense programs is really helpful to kind of network, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
get that experience and
Yeah.
get your resume. It's so many things.
So
It's really
private
good for.
lessons and good.
And help you know if you really do like doing this.
Yeah.
Right? It helps you know that you like working with groups, or you really don't want to do this much music.
Or
Or
what kind of
one thing that's could be good to know for a lot of people who might not know this is there are two different kinds of music degrees. There's a Bachelor of Music and there's a Bachelor of Arts in Music.
Okay.
And one is a lot more intense than the other. The Bachelor of Music is intended primarily for people who want to be professional musicians, and the Bachelor of Arts is more of a light kind of major. But we found when Aria was looking, she doesn't necessarily want to be a professional musician. She just wants to continue to gain skill. But she wanted to be at a school. She's doing a BA, but she wanted to be at a school that had a Bachelor of Music because it shows a lot about the program. The program has a lot more depth and a lot more community because a lot more people are coming there for music. Whereas if you're going a place that just has a Bachelor of Arts, it's probably more of a side thing for most of those people. And they're not going to have nearly as many classes or the depth of classes. It's going to be a lot less. So it's good. It's a good thing to know that you might not know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you, Alexa, when you started homeschooling your own kids, was music always a part of your school day? Because I know you and your husband both are musical. Like he's a musician as well, right?
He is. We do music together a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for us, homeschooling was always kind of a mix of life and learning all together. So there wasn't really a school day that I could define. So it's hard to say whether it was really part of school, but we always did music. I mean, from the time they were little, I was singing them to sleep at night. But then when they got older, we were singing together in the car or at home. I had a book of folk songs from the Metropolitan Museum of Art that we would sit and read and look at the pictures and sing through the folk songs. And so we were always doing that kind of thing. And I, because I am me, was able to teach them pretty early how to harmonize with each other and teach them basic piano. So we did a lot of things, but just mostly just having fun with music is what we were doing. We weren't sitting down and having, now it's music learning time.
I will add,
Sure.
we also did learn a lot of like Bible songs, like include like hymns, like spiritual songs, stuff like that was really helpful for like ingraining truths in us, and like, you know, calling that up when you need to pray something is extremely helpful. But also just learning scripture. There are a lot of different places that you can go to find like catchy tunes with scripture memory verses, and they can be obnoxious, but they are so helpful. I remember all of them to this day, and that's like the way that I know scripture at this point, including BT and the Halo Express.
Yeah, and the Halo Express.
And, Seed's Family Worship is a newer one. That's really great.
Okay, neat. I know when I was a child, I was exposed to a lot of scripture set to music, and honestly, it's still in my brain, 40 plus years later, I will never forget it. So yeah,
you'll
absolutely.
be reading through the Bible and realize, oh, that's a song. I know that one.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's so true. Now, are all of your kids musical, Alexa? Are they all talented musically?
So that's a good question. I don't know if we define us as all talented musically, but we all do music and love doing music, and probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question. If we hadn't grown up doing it, do we have more skill than other people have? I don't know.
When my kids were growing up, when they were little, we always kind of did similar. We would sing and all kinds of music, and they all have had some level of music lessons, piano lessons or guitar or something. But at this point, like as adults, only my girls have continued to be musical, like to really enjoy music, and my boys not so much. So I just think it's interesting.
It is interesting. Well, so mine are still mostly kids, right? So we'll see what happens when they grow up. But everyone has chosen their own instrument and done their own thing, and they all still sing in choirs and stuff. So yeah, it's fun to watch.
And so you have a homeschool choir.
It is not officially a homeschool choir. It's a community choir, but it is predominantly homeschoolers. But I think most traditionally schooled kids, if they want to do choir, have it at their school. So it is, I don't know, 90 to 95% of our whole program is probably homeschoolers. But yes, we do.
Yeah. And what prompted you to start that?
So I was in a choir called the Musical Airs in Charlotte when I was a homeschooled kid growing up, and it really solidified my love of choral music and working with others singing. And so I really wanted others to have that experience. Plus, I really, really love working with choirs, and I love working with kids. So as soon as Aria was old enough, I actually did a homeschool high school choir when I was pre-child, when I just wanted to do choirs. And then when Aria got old enough, we started my copy of Musical Airs, so that she and all of her friends and then my younger kids could all have that. It was a very significant experience for me.
Very cool. And so for both of you, for you, Aria, as you're thinking about, other homeschool families, other homeschool kids, and you, Alexa, as a homeschool mom and former homeschool student, would you encourage every homeschool family to incorporate music in their life, in their homeschool, in their learning in some way?
Yeah.
And you've already given some really good ideas of how to do that, but are there any other ideas that you might have of good ways that families can do that? Maybe there's some families out there that are like, we're not musicians. What do we do?
So I think, obviously not everyone needs to have the music focus that we've had. Every family has their own personality, and some people aren't geared for this, and they're going to be more into sports or drama or something. And there are lots of other things that can bring the similar kinds of benefits for community and stuff. But music, we do think music is extra special, and as connected to so many things and it really, really does a lot for your brain. It's connecting the creative and emotional side with the more mathematical focused kind of side, and it's bringing it all together in lots of ways that I think are really valuable. So at least introducing music, not necessarily teaching about music, but trying to instill a love of music, I think is or a comfort with music. I think some kids just aren't used to ever singing at all. Unless they're church, most of the time people have exposure to singing now is in church, and that's wonderful. But if you don't have that a lot, they're not around it at all. So I think, playing show tunes, playing classical music. If you don't know much about classical music, find someone who has some recommendations. I have a favorite CD called Mad About the Classics. It's short and it's catchy and it's the more accessible, because classical music has a huge range, and we who understand classical music have appreciation for lots of it, right? But some of it's a little more hard to grasp if you're not used to it, especially for kids. So if you just play random classical music, it might come across as boring or long, or so find stuff that you know of, or ask for recommendations of something that's fun or beautiful, but not very long. Keep them kind of short. And then just singing, even things like Pop Goes the Weasel when they're little, or, just little folk songs and little tunes that are fun to mess around with, or Mary Poppins, or it doesn't have to be big, serious things. And then if you have access to any sort of church choir or community choir, I really think that choirs are the best way to begin going a little deeper into music, because it's a very non-threatening way to start learning some music and start seeing the collaboration that music offers. So all of my kids, even if you go into an instrument, Ari's a violin performance major, not a voice major, or it still makes a huge, wonderful background for an instrumentalist too.
Like musicality and how to phrase your music, basically every instrument is just aiming to be a voice, and you need to know how to sing your instrument. And choir is singing without you having to think about the technicalities. It's like just bringing it down to the basics, and it's really amazing.
Aria, did you have any ideas or things that you really loved as far as involving kids in music or in your homeschool day?
I definitely think, I mentioned like the scripture memory verses, and just, music all of the time is really great. And then singing together with my family is just a really good bonding experience. I think for slightly older, I think, definitely little kids, choir is good, and it's fun and it's easy. But then once you get older, starting an instrument is a really good experience. It taught me so much discipline. I started out practicing for 10 minutes a day on a stopwatch, 10 minutes. And I hated it, and I would cry, and Mom was like, "Can we stop now?" And I'd be like, "No." And it taught me how to, I guess, conquer myself and continue to do something that I didn't like, but I knew there was an end goal. And now, of course, I love it much more, and I'm practicing for more than 10 minutes. And then also, like, collaboration, teamwork with music. It teaches you how to work together and solve problems. My favorite is chamber music, 4-string instruments, and you can't do it without anybody else. Everyone has to be able to work together to create this beautiful response, and then when you can get that, it's so intimate and it's so perfect. So it's this really great, like, mathematical problem solving with, like, emotional outcome directly, and it's very amazing.
Neat. I love that so much. All right. Well, do either one of you have any parting thoughts, anything you'd like to share with our listening or watching audience?
Oh, one thing, I don't know if this can be incorporated well or not, but that I forgot to mention about doing music with your kids is putting on the Nutcracker and having them dance to it. Or there are things like Peter and the Wolf, where it's telling a story with instruments. And it's so you get to kind of, like, we would act it out a little bit when they were little. So some of these things, as I said, some things I can do that others can't because I have a lot of musical knowledge, but some of them don't take knowledge except for knowing that there's that resource. You can She could put on a ballet and dance.
Peter and the Wolf is also
What'd you
really
say?
good. Like, that's how I know what the oboe is. It teaches you all the different instruments. To this day, I think an oboe sounds like a duck. Not because it sounds like a duck, but because the duck is swimming while the oboe is playing. And so now I know what the oboe is, and it's just really great.
Yes. I think my kids would probably say the same thing because we also did some Peter and the Wolf, and my oldest daughter was a ballet dancer, and so we have years of Nutcracker experience that we would also do at home. So that's so fun. I love it.
I think the goal is definitely not to try to make everybody be musicians for their life, but to recognize this gift that God gave us and appreciate it as much as God helps them appreciate it, right? But yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I
Yes,
really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks. That was so much fun. I loved talking to them. Obviously, Alexa is our wonderful Debbie and Spencer Mason's daughter. And, I've seen her and been around her for years, but had never really sat down and talked to her. So that was it was really fun for me to do that. And to be able to also talk to her daughter, Aria, that was really neat.
They're such sweet people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I loved the things that she talked about music, just to start with, just how good it is for you, for your brain, for your emotions. And of course, I'm right there with her. Our family does so much music, and that's how we have that special connection during worship. And her daughter talked about being able to remember scriptures that way. It's so true. It's so true.
Yes. And I really loved the encouragement from Alexa in particular, that even if your family is not overtly musical, if you're not musicians, if you weren't music majors in college, you can still utilize music in your homeschool. You can still make that a part of your day. And it's still important. It's still good for you, even if you're not a professional musician or whatever. You don't have to be a good singer to enjoy music and experience the benefits of that. So I thought that was really encouraging and helpful for all of our watchers and listeners out there.
Absolutely. I think I had mentioned a few weeks ago that one of the things that I did early on in school was to just pick some random music every day that we schooled. And, we have Google right at your hands. You can look up the music and talk about the genre or the time period that the music took place in. And, we would just spend a couple of minutes talking about, whatever it was, if it was a specific style of music or a specific artist. And then basically, we have all these different streaming services. You stream that music, and I had it as the background music for school that day.
That's so neat. I love that. And then I always love to hear from, people that are currently in that situation. So it was really neat to hear from both Alexa and Aria, who Alexa had been a music major in college, and Aria is currently a music major. That was really neat also. I think that was helpful for parents to hear, if their kids are looking to go into that field, and for students as well. And I know you were a music major also, right?
I was. And that was interesting to listen to them talk, because everybody has different experiences. And one of the things that struck me was when she talked a lot about the auditions. And, I think growing up I was in a symphonic band growing up. And so we did have to do like little auditions every year just to kind of figure out, are you going to be first chair flute or third chair flute or whatever. I did not have to do auditions to get into the School of Music where I went to school, but I did have to do auditions during my time period there, again, to kind of figure out where I was or what they thought I needed to learn more about. And I definitely don't think you should ever be afraid of that, because that was the good thing about, the professors there could say, hey, let's work on this. You've got this down. We're not going to waste time learning about this particular aspect of things, but we are going to learn about the things that you're struggling with, and which is kind of what we do here with homeschooling. I really like that.
Right. Exactly.
I enjoyed going to the School of Music, and I ended up, that wasn't what I did with my life, but music has always been a part of our life. But it was a good time to learn all kinds of stuff. And being in the music department, I was mainly a flute player. I had a little bit of guitar and piano experience, and I loved to sing. So I did get to join like the choirs and the chorus and stuff there. But throughout the music career, they don't just teach you what you already know or what you're good at. I had to learn drumming and different percussion instruments and all kinds of stuff. So it was a really great experience just to learn a bunch of different things.
Neat. I love that. That's so neat. All right. So I hope that you all out there that are listening or watching this have enjoyed our little deep dive, our several week journey into music and homeschooling. I think it's just so important. It's such a valuable thing. And it's one of those subjects, for lack of a better word, that's easy to push to the side. And I hope that we've encouraged you that it really is important and it really can lead to other things, whether you want to be a music major in college or just not. If you just want to be musical, enjoy music, experience all of that. I hope that that's been helpful and encouraging, interesting to you. And now, what do we have? We got some news today.
We have a little bit of news. We are headed towards the end of the school year, so things are starting to wind down a little bit. We do still have the North Carolina Transportation Museum Day coming up on April the 25th. And so those tickets can be purchased on our website, nche.com/activities. And those are available for purchase up until the 22nd of April. And then really what we want to focus on now is Thrive is coming up. We are just over a month away from our Thrive conference, and I'm getting really excited that we get to go and spend the weekend and just be with all the other homeschoolers and see each other. And so those tickets our registration is open right now for Thrive. And right now we are past the early admission, right, Amanda? Where are we in the scheme of things here?
Yes. So the early bird, which is the least expensive level, ended at the end of February. And now we're in pre-registration, and that'll be available right up until maybe a week before the conference, something like that. So we've got a little while for that still available. And then once that closes down, then the only option will be to get your tickets at the door, which is a little more expensive. And also, we talked several episodes ago about the Parent of Preschoolers program. If you want to register as a parent of preschoolers and get that free admission, you have to do it in the pre-registration period. You cannot register at the door and get that. So make sure if you're a parent of a preschooler that you go ahead and do that.
Right. And so again, nche.com/thrive for that registration. And we will have links for both of these things in the notes below. So you can just go down there and click on those. And so that is it for this week.
All right. Awesome. So as always, guys, please help us out. We want to hear from you. If you have any feedback, if you have any questions, you can always reach us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. And we really do. We read every single one of those messages and take them to heart. So please, if you have anything to share with us, just reach out. We'd love to hear from you. As always, like, subscribe, share with your friends. And until next time, keep homeschooling with confidence and joy.